It's gonna work out.
Hello everybody and welcome to The Journey. Again, you're here with Chidinma Ume and I'm here with my first guest and I'll let her give you all her name.
Mia Hall.
So Mia's a great friend of mine and I'm so excited for her to be my first guest on today's show. So we're just going to jump right into it. So Mia, can you start by telling our viewers what passions you're currently pursuing in life?
Right. So thank you, first of all,
Go ahead and get
for
comfortable.
having me on this show, and thank you for allowing me to come on and speak about my passions with you. Congratulations on the launch.
Keep watching, folks.
So yes, I would say the passions that I'm pursuing right now, I mean, I'm definitely passionate about Christ, so I have to say that that's like my number one, pursuing a relationship with Him. The desires and the passion that I have is to truly allow young girls, especially those of color, to dream big. So that's really a passion that I'm pursuing, speaking to young women. I have an organization, Brown Girls Glow, and really through that I help teenage girls to find out who they really are and to walk confidently in that.
That's
preparing
awesome.
for college and careers.
That's awesome.
So that's one of the things I'm passionate about. Another thing that I'm passionate about is people networking across. So Issa Rae talked about sometimes people always try to network up, but it's really those peer-to-peer relationships that will help us to get to, a higher level. And so I'm coordinating. I love having events. I love hosting people, love hosting events. So Tia Mari Whitted and myself started the organization Network and Beats back in New York, and we had 2 events in New York. So now we're having our first one in LA.
LA launch
coming up this All-Star weekend. So I'm hosting that, and I'm doing that with Katrina and a few other people, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's another passion I'm pursuing. And since I just moved out here to Los Angeles, really looking forward to working with, like I said, the young women, and really getting into, this content production with all of my passions, being able to share it with the world. So like whatever you're passionate about, media is, the forms that you're able to communicate it with other people. And so that's what I'm looking to do as well.
Right. Okay. So we got a full plate. Right. So we have a
absolutely.
little bit of stay busy. So we have a little bit of women's empowerment, and then we have a little bit of networking, and then a little bit of content creation. Not a little bit, but we have 3 lanes that you're rocking in.
Yep.
So I assume that you're pursuing all of them full time, right? Right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, that they all make up what I'm doing full time.
Gotcha. Now, have you always been in the space to pursue all 3 of these passions full time?
Now, no, I wouldn't say that. I really started, I believe, to get focused on, as far as my career passions, when I was 16. So, I was passionate about basketball since I started playing at 13. And since I saw Allen Iverson lighting up the court with his crossover, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna play basketball, whatever. I'm gonna do this in college. And then when the WNBA came out, I was like, oh, I could become a professional athlete. I can do this for a living. So I was like, yeah, I want to play basketball. But then I was introduced to this organization called Power Play NYC, and they showed me people that worked in basketball and in sports, but that weren't on the court. So they weren't athletes, but they were on the business side. And I had always wanted to make money. So I was like, I was always like the kid in 2nd grade taking candy from the store and selling it in class for like twice the price. So I was always interested in entrepreneurship. So I was like, I had a little business bug. So I was like, oh wow, they incorporated business and they incorporated sports, and I just thought that was a cool thing. So I was very passionate about, if I wasn't going to play on a team, which when I got to college, I didn't make it to the team. I didn't make it to the D1 Hampton University Pirates, Lady Pirates team. And so that forced me to change my major and switch to sport management. So that was my passion for a while. I still love sports. Sports is the foundation of, where I really got my drive from, where I learned about teamwork, where I learned about you have to be practicing every day if you want to win. You know what I mean? You have to put in the work. You
Yeah.
know, you have to discipline yourself. So that's where I learned like the principles that I believe carried me on to pursue whatever passion that I had throughout my life.
Yeah.
And so yes, to answer your question, that's where my first passion was, and where my passion still is. But that's how I got started in this whole passion pursuing.
Well, that's huge because you speak to the heart of exactly what this series is about, right? Your journey and how you started from really pursuing sports and entrepreneurship to now pivoting to the three interests that we just talked about, right? So empowering young women, networking, and media content generation. So can you talk about that pivot in your life? When did you realize that sports wasn't going to be your passion that you're pursuing full time, and how did you come to realize that you wanted to branch out into these other areas?
Right. So I'm a firm believer that we are revealed our purpose gradually through life. I don't think that it comes like, okay, boom, I know, that I want to do this and that's it. That's the thing that I'm going to pass. I believe that our purpose is revealed to us over time. I don't think that it's something that, okay, boom, this is our passion. Okay, this is going to be it.
Right. I'm locked in forever.
Right. Exactly. So that's my first thought. But all throughout my life, I've had different things that I wanted to do, different things that I wanted to pursue. But I will say that I was involved in sports for 10 years. So I didn't make the team at Hampton. I majored in sport management, was still very passionate about education from, what my mentors taught me, and found out about this scholarship at church. The summer before my last year of school, I found out about a scholarship. You had to be applying to the top school in your major. And I was like, I want to study education because I had that passion for empowering young people, and I wanted to, find about education. And I was in college, but I didn't know it would be what I'm doing now.
Right.
Either way, I said, let me think about applying for like a top school. So that made me want to look into Ivy League schools, and without that, I wouldn't have found Harvard because I was like, okay, let me apply for these schools, research, because I want this money and for this scholarship. And I looked at Harvard last because I thought it would be the hardest to get into and the most expensive. And I was like, I got the money and I don't know if I get in, but whatever. I prayed about it, and I felt like God was like, it's not going to be you, it's going to be me working through you.
That's right.
Who's going to get you this degree. So after Hampton and hearing that service, I applied to Harvard. I filled out all seven. I filled out seven. I sent in my seventh draft of my application because I said that's the number of completion. And 4 months later I got in. So went to Harvard, studied education, and that was my passion for a while. You know what I mean? So like at that stage, I was like, I want to go into schools and I want to develop programs like Power Play that help me to be exposed to these careers in sports, right? So I was like, that was my passion at the time. So I also still love sports. So I worked at the WNBA. That's a whole nother story, but I worked at WNBA. And then there was this school called the High School Sports Management. So it was my undergrad degree, sport management, and my graduate degree in education combined in one. So then I worked at that school, and I was passionate about teaching the young people, hey, you don't have to be a player. You could be an owner of a team. You could be, you could be a business operations, vice president at a team, So I did that for 5 years. And then I heard the Nets were coming to Brooklyn. I said, oh, you got to sign me up. I'm from Brooklyn. I love basketball. Why shouldn't I be working there? So then I was pursuing that. You know what I mean? So, and then for 2 years, I stayed in touch with people there. I ate, drank, and slept it. I was focused. I was like, I was passing by that building every day on my way to work, Barclays Center, when they were building it. And every day I said, I'm going to work there. 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 You know what I mean? Just kept saying it. And the summer before they opened, they called me. And when I came in, they were like, the woman that hired me, Elisa Padilla, said, when I thought about this, when I had to create a position, you were the first person to come to mind.
Wow. And
that was, staying in touch with her. So I always say it's not only who you know, it's who knows you. So you want to stay on people's
Remember
mind.
that.
Yeah,
It's
they
not
always
only
say
who you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah, because they always say, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay, it's not only who you know, but it's who knows you, because you want to be available when those opportunities, come about. Like, you want, when opportunities come, people to think of you.
Right.
You don't want to have to pursue it, honestly.
Right.
You want to be pursuing, and then have people think of you when opportunities come. So that was my passion then.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second, right? Because some people may be watching, they may have a sense of what their passions are, but they may not have a specific opportunity in mind, right? What advice would you give to somebody who's looking for how to figure that out for themselves, what that is?
Yes, so that was me. That was me this time last year. That was me this time last year because the Nets went through restructuring. So, I didn't work there as of yesterday, 2 years ago.
Wow.
2 years ago, as of yesterday, 2 years ago, to the day, right? So I was like, I know I want to pursue, but last year I was like, I know I want to pursue film. Like, for some reason, I want to pursue film and entertainment. But why? So my advice would be to do research. I said, I'm going to work. I was working at NBC. Thank God, that was a whole nother testimony. But working at NBC, and I had 4 months until my contract was over. I said, if I don't get a job by the time my contract is over, I'm going to do my research for a year. Like, why do I want to be in film and TV? Like, let me research. So that's what I would suggest. Research, talk to people, and give yourself a deadline. Because I said by April of 2018, which is this year, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to finish researching and I'm going to pick something.
Right.
And then pursue it. Because my thing also is, I tell young people, like, oh, I want to do these 15 million things. Pick one now. And at least say, okay, but I'm going to do this for a year. Or I'm going to pursue this one for a year.
Right.
Because, I know I either have to, pay rent or whatever. Like, if it comes to that point, like, let yourself be in something enough time to know if you don't want to do it or not.
That's
you know what I mean? Because we don't want to just keep on saying, oh, I have all these, you know what I mean? And you don't know if you really like one thing or not. So just try it for another year. After you do your research, pick one thing. Then after you pick that one thing, maybe you want to try that for a year. Maybe you want to try it out for 6 months. And then if 6 months you don't like it, whatever. But pick one, then give yourself some time to really dive into it. Because you did research for a year. So by that time, or whatever amount of time, by that time you should know, okay, this is what I'm leaning towards.
Right.
And, especially if you got the spirit, be prayerful about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and just give yourself a timeline. Okay, by then, I'm going to volunteer in these areas. That's what I've been doing over the past year, like volunteering at different events, going to different film festivals, like having informational interviews, having coffee with people, seeing what they do, learning about different parts of the career, reading periodicals, reading the trade magazines, like in these areas, to really see, oh, you know what, I specifically like this.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So do your research, set a deadline.
Yes.
As you're searching for what's next.
Yes.
And then just try it.
Yep.
And give yourself a deadline for that too.
Yeah.
Very realistic advice. So you know that our viewers are people who are much like you were this time last year, and quite frankly, much like I am right now, looking for that step that's next, looking for that something more, and even trying to identify their passions. So you've given a lot of great advice so far. If there was one thing that you could leave the viewers with, maybe a challenge that you can give them for themselves to implement in the next 90 days, what would it be? What would you say to help someone advance toward that next step to finding their purpose?
Right. Advice would be to put together a plan, but also to get accountability on that plan, right? So to put together a plan and then tell somebody, okay, for the next 90 days, this is what I plan to do. This is how I plan to research the things that I think I'm interested in. And then at the end of the 90 days, this is the outcome that I want to come with it. I want to have a better idea of, education or women's empowerment. I want to have a better idea of what this looks like. So I would have spoken to, 5 people by then. I would have attended 3 events. I would have attended 1 conference that might not even be, in my city.
Right.
So put together a plan, but have accountability. Somebody that will follow up with you and hold you accountable. I would love once a week, but if it has to be once every 2 weeks or, so no more than that.
Right.
No more than that, but something realistic. So get a plan and get an accountability partner to help you follow that plan. Even if you have to pay for an accountability partner, like even if you have to pay for a coach, if you have the investment, if you have the funds, but, if not, definitely get somebody. Or maybe even 2 people, you tell them, but tell somebody.
Right.
So that they can hold you accountable.
Because it takes a village sometimes.
It does.
So that was great advice. I hope you all will go out and implement that advice. I think I might have to start And Mia is actually my accountability partner. So anything I say, I'm going to be held to. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like, comment below. Tell me what you're interested in starting, what you're interested in working on for the next 90 days, and keep watching. So thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you.
It's gonna work out sooner than later. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. It's gonna work out in your favor.